After 7 years together, I called off my wedding to my fiancé, Jordan. 2 days before we were supposed to get married. The wedding planner looked at me in shock. The wedding is less than 24 hours away. Aren't you going to wait for the groom to come back before making the decision? I simply smiled and glanced at the venue I had spent 3 months setting up, my voice indifferent. Nah. He doesn't have time for this. He's busy getting married to his ex in Slandsdeca. In our 7 years of dating, Jordan Harding forbade me from accessing his computer. For once during his business trip, he forgot to switch it off. While tidying up his study, I caught a glimpse of the lit-up screen. Jordan, are you honestly planning a wedding with Molly in Slandsdeca? Sure, the marriage isn't official, but shouldn't you worry about Eve going mad when she finds out? It's 3 days to your wedding with her here. Get a grip. Jordan's best friend, Tom Bloomfield, confronted him on WhatsApp. I gripped the desk for support, thinking I was in a dream for a moment. Molly Powell was Jordan's girlfriend back when he was 18. They broke up soon after because of the long distance. It had been 8 years since then. It didn't make sense that Jordan would hold a wedding with her when ours was right around the corner. Veins bulged on the back of my hands as I clutched the edge of the desk. I stared intently at the computer screen, eager to see Jordan's response. It didn't take long for Jordan to respond. It's happening. My mind has never been clearer. It's a promise Molly and I made when we were 18. It's the only thing she asked of me, and I must fulfill it. As for Eve, he stopped for what felt like forever. She won't find out anyway. I'll just pretend like none of this ever happened. I stared at the words in disbelief. It took a while before a wry smile broke across my face. Too bad. I had already found out. Pulling a chair over, I took a seat and held the mouse with my trembling hand to scroll over to Jordan's chat with Molly. In the 7 years I had been with Jordan, I had no idea. Jordan and Molly had been in touch every single day. When Molly shared a picture of the kitten she came across today, Jordan would reply, "It's as cute as you." If Molly were to vent about work stress and her annoying boss, Jordan would text back earnestly, "Feeling stressed means you're progressing. Don't overthink it. I'm right here with you." Molly sent a meme about being afraid of the dark during a power cut in her neighborhood. Without thinking twice, Jordan replied, "On my way." It was the same day I was rolling around in bed, writhing in pain from period cramps. Jordan rushed out the door, not even pausing for a second to get me some painkillers. I scrolled through snippets of their daily interactions, picking up Jordan's devotion and care behind his words. The hardest pill to swallow was the incident happening this past month. Jordan and Molly were planning their wedding. He asked her, "Where's your ideal wedding venue? Do you fancy a wedding on a snowy mountain or an open lawn? We can do both if you want." Jordan spammed her with photos of wedding dresses in every style possible. "Which one catches your eye? Are you looking for something minimalist, satin, or embellished? I cleared my afternoon schedule. I'll pick you up at 3 for your fitting." He threw himself into every aspect of her wedding, be it the venue or the choice between ribbons and confetti. Jordan barely had time to breathe. As for our wedding, he didn't care whether it was held back home or in the city. I wanted him to come dress shopping with me, but he claimed he was too busy and told me to pick whatever. Jordan simply took a quick look at the guest list I had put together before signing off. His response remained the same. "You can decide. I'm down with whatever." I honestly thought Jordan wasn't one to fret over the details. That was before today, when I came across his chat logs with Molly. Jordan put together 3 separate PowerPoint presentations, each with 20 slides, to help Molly choose between a veil and a tiara. Reading the care behind every line of words, I could no longer run away from the truth. The 7 years I shared with Jordan meant nothing. I sat in the study all through the night. The next day, I took time off work and sought the company of my best friend, Kendra Doodle, while I went about canceling all the vendors. "Eve, are you absolutely sure about this?" That was the first thing Kendra asked when she saw me. "I've never been more certain. You guys have been together for 7 years. Your wedding is in 2 days. Are you going to call off the whole thing on your own before he comes back?" "Yes." "Does Jordan know?" "He's busy." "With what?" I didn't answer. Kendra fell silent for a bit. "If you can't bring yourself to, I'll give him a call. You guys go way back. Marriage is a huge thing. I can't let you face this all alone." "He's busy getting married," I murmured. Kendra was stunned, the look of disapproval frozen on her face. "What did you say?" I smiled to myself. Pulling out the chat logs I had saved from Jordan's computer last night, I showed them to Kendra. Jordan got married. It happened yesterday in Slandsdeca. He married Molly Powell, his ex. Kendra had no words. Her eyes turned bloodshot. "Just yesterday, I recalled you were rehearsing with the lighting crew until midnight. You even texted me in the middle of it, asking me to go to the pharmacy to get you some painkillers because your stomach hurt. And the whole time Jordan was getting married to another woman in Slandsdeca?" I curled my lips. "Yeah." Without another word from her, Kendra drove me to the wedding planning agency. During the drive, she held my hand really tight. Once I got home from canceling the wedding plans, I packed my bags. The plan was to move out of the home I was supposed to share with Jordan as husband and wife. Jordan sent me a text. It was a photo taken inside an airport terminal. He added a message. Just finished my business trip. I'm exhausted. Instead of replying to his text, I stared blankly at the bottom left edge of the photo. A slender, fair hand accidentally came into frame, a diamond ring gleaming on the ring finger. I recognized the ring. During our hunt for a wedding last year, the jeweler recommended the most expensive piece to Jordan and me. There was only one set of matching wedding bands available in the entire city. I was in love with the wedding band, but Jordan shut the idea down, saying the ring was too extravagant for me. As it turned out, the ring was meant for Molly all along. Setting the phone aside, I took out my clothes one by one and folded them carefully before packing them into my suitcase. My brows furrowed the moment I pulled one of Jordan's shirts. A heavy scent of perfume clung to the fabric. The fragrance carried hints of peony. Tucked into the collar was a small note scribbled in red lipstick. Molly's pajamas. Despite dating Jordan for 7 years, I was only finding out now that he had brought Molly to our home. He even left a shirt stained with another woman's scent in our closet. I put the shirt back where it was before turning around to clear out the bathroom. The phone in my pocket rang. Once again, it was a call from Jordan. He requested a video call. I answered. On the screen, he wore a black overcoat. For once, his usual cold, detached expression softened with a hint of affection. What are you doing? Packing up. Is the wedding prep going well? I guess so. I'm flying out today. I'll be back by tomorrow morning, in time for our wedding happening the day after. Okay. What's the matter? Are you upset? No, I'm just tired. I brought you a gift. He leaned in and fished out a white box with a ribbon from his briefcase. I got a wedding favor from attending a friend's wedding here. I saved it for you to share the joy. A friend? I repeated the word. Jordan chuckled without a hint of guilt. That's right. It was a friend's wedding. Just then, a woman's voice cut in from the background. Jordan, can you check if my diamond ring is loose? Tilting his head over, Jordan replied, be right there. He shifted his attention back to me. Eve, is there anything else? If not, I'm hanging up. With downcast eyes, I stared at the man on the screen and asked the burning question. Jordan, do you honestly want to marry me? Taken aback at first, Jordan proceeded to chuckle. Of course. We've been together for 7 years. How many 7 years does one get in a lifetime? I definitely want to marry you. I nodded. My finger hovered over the group chat with Jordan's family. 3 minutes ago, I typed, by mutual agreement, our upcoming wedding in 2 days is officially called off. At the time, I wanted to save him from embarrassment. Now, I deleted the sentence one word at a time. Got it. The next day, I shipped my bags back home. A call from Jordan's mother, Cece, came in. Eve, come to the house for lunch today. Jordan is back. After a pause, she added cheerfully, he brought a friend with him. Her name is Molly Powell. It's a great chance to introduce you too. Cece was very nice. When Jordan introduced me to his family, Cece offered me a drink with a bright smile. She complimented me on my looks and asked about my education, my family circumstances, and how good I was with household chores. I responded to every question, my nerves more on edge than when I defended my thesis. It was my wish to be the daughter-in-law Cece approved of. Cece seemed thrilled, claiming that the family was lucky that Jordan found a girlfriend like me. She turned around and called Jordan to the kitchen to help with refreshments. I caught Cece sighing, her voice full of regret as she told Jordan, it's such a shame. Your ex was way better. Jordan's last ex was Molly. I knew even without Jordan telling me. Since then, that name had lived rent-free in my head every time I dropped by Cece's home. Today was the day I'd meet Molly. By the time I arrived, the living room sofa was packed. Molly sat in the middle, with Jordan glued to her side. He was peeling a piece of grapefruit for her. Never in those 7 years did Jordan demonstrate such commitment. As I stepped inside, Cece jolted to her feet. There you are, Eve. She pulled me closer and pointed at Molly. They used to go to school together. Molly is one fine lady. The moment she learned that Jordan was getting married, she came all the way just to attend the wedding. Molly, this is Eve. The double standard was evident even in the introduction. Not calling Cece out, I simply looked for a spot to sit down. Cece went on talking with Molly. Molly, did you take pictures of your wedding in Slandsdeca? Honestly, you should have told me about the wedding sooner. Molly smiled embarrassedly. Mrs. Harding, well, aren't you formal? Cece said cheerfully. Mom, Jordan cried out of nowhere, his gaze darting toward me. Eve's here. The tension in the air was palpable. With reality catching up to her, Cece uttered sheepishly, oh, look at me, talking without thinking. I just adore Molly so much. She's like a daughter to me. Here, Eve, enjoy the wedding favor. She slid the box of chocolates toward me. Cece even grabbed a handful of candy and stuffed it into my palm. I unwrapped one and popped it into my mouth, only to be hit with the most bitter taste imaginable. Thank you, Mrs. Harding. I didn't address her intimately. She didn't deserve it. The fact that Cece was kept in the loop about Jordan and Molly's wedding threw me off. Still, I didn't kick up a fuss. It was pointless. I bided my time, waiting for tomorrow to catch the looks on their faces when they learned that the wedding was off. After lunch, I got up and went home. Jordan rushed out to see me off. Inside the elevator, he broke the silence. Mom didn't mean it. What? He fell silent. Mom didn't mean anything when she asked Molly to call her mom. I smiled. Lifting both arms, I studied my hands front and back. When I first met your mom, she complimented my looks and my hands, saying they were so soft and pretty that it was obvious I'd never worked a day in my life. And yet, every single time I visited your place since then, she'd send me to the kitchen to help the moment I sat down. I've washed the dishes at your place 78 times over the course of 7 years. Meanwhile, your mom wouldn't even let Molly get her own drink when we had lunch just now. Color drained from Jordan's face. Eve, Molly is a guest. And your mom tells the guest to call her mom? Jordan kept his mouth closed. I threw him another question. Whose idea was it to give me the wedding favor? Jordan was taken aback. It was Molly's idea. She wanted to spread the joy. You didn't stop her? I didn't see what the issue is. I grinned. I'd lost count of the number of times Jordan said that in the last 7 years. When he forgot my birthday, Jordan said, work was hectic. I didn't think much of it. During our anniversary, he bought me the same bracelet as Molly's. He uttered, they are the same brand. I honestly didn't think it mattered. The ring he proposed with was even one size too big. His defense was, I can't keep track of the little things. I wasn't thinking too far ahead. I wouldn't know whether he had given any thought to these things. At this point, I couldn't be bothered to care. I asked, Jordan, it's not too late to back out of the wedding now. Jordan's expression turned grim. His left hand gripped my wrist hard. Don't be ridiculous, Eve. We've been together for 7 years. Who else would you marry if not me? If you're upset about the wedding favor, I'll dump it, but I don't want to hear that from you. Take it back. It was not every day I got to see Jordan losing his temper. I smirked. All right. I stepped out of the elevator, ditching him. That night, I shipped out the very last piece of my luggage from the home we were supposed to share. While sending a picture of the cleared space to Kendra, I got a text from Jordan. Are you still upset? I've talked to Mom. She won't make you do the dishes again. I didn't respond to his text. Jordan typed, we're getting married in 12 hours. Are you excited, Eve? Sitting in the center of the empty, joyless living room, I hesitated for a minute before deciding to leave him on read. Kendra forwarded me a news link. I can't believe this pair. You need to look at this now. I tapped on the link. It was a local news push notification from Slandsdeca. Foreign couple's wedding of the century, groom. Love is priceless. The report ran to nearly 2,000 words, offering an in-depth description of Jordan and Molly's wedding. There was also a photo of Jordan being interviewed. The journalist asked, why did you choose Slandsdeca as your wedding destination? Jordan replied, it's what my wife wanted. I downloaded and saved the article. Then I pulled up Jordan's chat window and responded, I can't wait. With the message sent, I slipped off the engagement ring. I set the band down on the coffee table, right next to his computer. Moving the mouse to wake the screen, I typed in the URL Kendra had sent me, and left the page open on the article about Jordan and Molly's wedding. I took one last look at the place before turning off the lights and walking away. Kendra was already waiting in the car outside the apartment building. Where to? The airport. As the car drove out of the neighborhood, I didn't even look back. My phone was set to silent mode. It was a goodbye to my 7 years. The next morning at 8, Jordan arrived at the apartment along with Molly, family, and friends. The moment the front door swung open, everyone was dumbfounded. At 8 o'clock on the dot, the morning sun broke through the floor-to-ceiling windows of the apartment. A sleek black wedding motorcade pulled up to the curb below. Jordan stepped out of the lead sedan, wearing a custom-tailored dark gray tuxedo. He carried a massive bouquet of white lilies and fresh baby's breath, flowers he had ordered at the last minute because his assistant told him brides liked them. Behind him stepped his mother, Cece, dressed in a sweeping wine-red velvet gown, and Molly, who wore an elegant cream-colored designer dress. Jordan, tell Eve to hurry down once you grab her, Cece said, adjusting her pearl necklace with an air of impatience. The photographer at the venue is on a tight schedule. I don't want us looking rushed in front of our relatives. She's probably still doing her makeup, Mom, Jordan said smoothly, a faint, indulgent smile on his lips. She was acting a bit needy last night. I'm sure. She's just eager. They took the elevator up to the 9th floor. Jordan tapped the electronic lock, entered the 6-digit passcode, Eve's birthday, and pushed the heavy mahogany door. Open, Eve. I'm here to. The words died in his throat. The apartment was pitch black. The thick blackout curtains were drawn shut. But More than the darkness, it was the echo that caught him off guard. When Jordan took a step inside, his shoes clacked against the bare hardwood floor with a hollow, echoing thud. Cece pushed past him, flicking the wall switch. The bright overhead light snapped on, illuminating a completely empty space. The sofa was gone. The coffee table was gone. The framed oil paintings Eve had spent 3 months choosing were removed, leaving faint, pale rectangles on the walls. What is this? Cece stammered, her voice high and shrill. Where is the furniture? Where is Eve? Jordan's heart gave a violent, unnatural thud against his ribs. He dropped the bouquet of lilies onto the bare floor and sprinted toward the master bedroom. He threw the door open. The built-in closets were wide open. Every single hanger on Eve's side was empty. Her skincare products, her books, her shoes, even her favorite mug from the nightstand, all gone. The room looked as if no one had lived in it for years. Jordan, look at the coffee table. Tom Bloomfield's voice yelled from the living room. Jordan rushed back out. Tom was standing near the center of the empty room, pointing at a small glass side table that had been left behind. Resting on the glass surface was the platinum engagement ring Jordan had bought her 2 years ago, the one that was one size too big. Beside it, a laptop sat open, its cooling fan whirring softly in the quiet room. Jordan stepped forward, his knees feeling strangely weak. He stared at the lit screen. Displayed in full, high-definition resolution was the local news article from Slandsdeca. Foreign couple's wedding of the century, groom. Love is priceless. The high-resolution photograph showed Jordan holding Molly in his arms under a canopy of white roses, kissing her passionately while holding a glass of vintage champagne. And below the article, a single text document was opened on the desktop. It contained a screenshot of Jordan's WhatsApp conversation with Tom from 4 nights ago. Jordan, it's a promise Molly and I made when we were 18. As for Eve, she won't find out anyway. I'll just pretend like none of this ever happened. Jordan. Tom whispered, his face turning entirely pale. She knew. Saw the chat on your desktop. Cece walked over, squinting at the screen. When her eyes caught the headline and the photo of Jordan and Molly in Slandsdeca, her face drained of all color. Jordan, what is this? Cece shrieked, clutching her pearl necklace. You married Molly in Slandsdeca 4 days ago. Molly, standing near the doorway, took a sharp breath, her hands clenching into tight fists inside her coat pockets. She didn't look guilty, her eyes flickered with a strange, triumphant gleam. Jordan didn't hear any of them. His eyes were locked on the small text window minimized at the bottom of the screen. It showed his last message to Eve from 12 hours ago. Jordan, we're getting married in 12 hours. Are you excited, Eve? And Eve's final reply, Eve, I can't wait. Eve, Jordan rasped, pulling out his phone with trembling fingers. He dialed her number. The number you have dialed is currently out of service or has been disconnected. He dialed again. The same automated robotic voice answered. He pulled up WeChat. A red exclamation mark appeared beside his message. She had deleted him, blocked his number, and wiped her existence clean from his life. No, this is impossible, Jordan muttered, a cold sweat breaking out across his forehead. She's just throwing a fit. She's at the venue. She must be at the venue setting up. Jordan, wait. Cece yelled, but Jordan was already sprinting out the front door, leaving his family and friends standing in the hollow, echoing shell of his former home. The Grand Imperial Hotel was the most prestigious wedding venue in the city. By 9 in the morning, over 200 guests, business partners of the Harding Group, distant relatives, university friends, and local press had gathered outside the main ballroom. Jordan's car screeched to a halt outside the hotel entrance. He didn't wait for the valet. He slammed the door and ran straight through the glass lobby, his tuxedo rumpled, his hair uncombed. Eve, he yelled as he pushed through the heavy double doors of the main ballroom. He stopped dead in his tracks. The ballroom was vast, dark, and completely silent. There were no white rose arches. There was no crystal chandelier lighting. The 3-tiered wedding cake was missing. The staging, the velvet chairs, the floral centerpieces, everything had been stripped away, leaving only the bare concrete floor and naked steel trusses above. A middle-aged woman in a sleek black suit was standing near the soundboard, holding a tablet. It was the hotel's chief wedding planner. When she saw Jordan burst in, she looked at him with an expression of cold, professional detachment. Mr. Harding, she said smoothly, you're late for your own walkthrough. Though, I suppose it doesn't matter anymore. Jordan ran up to her, grabbing her by the shoulders, his eyes bloodshot. Where is Eve? Where is the bride? Why is the hall empty? The planner calmly stepped back, brushing his hands off her suit jacket. Miss Eve came here 3 days ago, Mr. Harding, the planner said, her voice dropping into a razor-sharp tone that echoed through the dark room. She Officially canceled the venue reservation, paid the 50% breach of contract fee out of her personal account, and instructed us to dismantle every piece of decoration. Jordan felt as if someone had slammed a sledgehammer directly into his chest. 3 days ago? He gasped out loud. She canceled it 3 days ago. Yes, the planner replied, looking down at her tablet. When I asked her if she wanted to wait for you to return from your business trip before forfeiting her deposit, she gave me a very interesting answer. The planner looked up, meeting Jordan's frantic gaze. She said, "Nah, he doesn't have time for this. He's busy getting married to his ex in Slandsdeca." Behind Jordan, the heavy doors opened wider. Cece, Molly, Tom, and dozens of early arriving guests flooded into the doorway, taking in the sight of the bare, dark ballroom. What is going on here? An elder uncle of the Harding family barked, adjusting his glasses. Where is the ceremony? Jordan, why are the lights off? Is this some kind of joke? Another relative shouted. We flew in from the coast for this. Cece's face was a horrific shade of gray. She stumbled into the hall, looking at the bare concrete floor, then at the quiet wedding planner. Where is the bride? Cece whimpered, her former arrogance completely shattered. Where is my daughter-in-law? You don't have a daughter-in-law, Mrs. Harding, Tom Bloomfield spoke up from the back, his voice flat and bitter. He looked at Jordan with pure disgust. Eve left. She took her things, canceled the wedding, and left Jordan with the woman he actually wanted. Tom walked up to Jordan, leaning in close to his ear. Remember what you told me on WhatsApp? Tom hissed. She won't find out anyway. I'll just pretend like none of this ever happened. Tom patted Jordan's shoulder heavily twice. Congratulations, Jordan. You got your wish. You don't have to pretend anymore. Tom turned on his heel and walked out of the hotel, leaving the Harding family standing in the middle of a national embarrassment. 6 months later, Seattle. The air was crisp, clean, and filled with the scent of pine and ocean salt. On the top floor of a glass skyscraper overlooking Puget Sound, Eve sat behind a wide oak desk, sipping an iced Americano while reviewing architectural blueprints for her new independent interior design firm. Her hair was cut into a chic, shoulder-length bob, her skin radiant, her eyes bright and completely clear. Beside her, Kendra was lounging on a leather armchair, flipping through a luxury lifestyle magazine. Eve, Kendra said, looking up with a sly grin. Your old friend Tom sent me a message today. Want to hear the news from back home? Eve didn't raise her head from the blueprints. If it's about the Harding Group's quarterly stock report, I've already read it. No, it's better than stock reports, Kendra laughed, sliding her phone across the desk. It's about Jordan and his precious soulmate Molly. Eve took a light sip of her coffee and glanced at the screen. The news from their old city was a disaster. After Eve's quiet departure, the truth about the cancelled wedding and the Slandsdeca bigamy scandal had leaked to the local press. The Harding Group's corporate partners, appalled by the moral bankruptcy and public humiliation, pulled out of 3 major development deals. To save face, Cece had insisted that Jordan formally marry Molly in a quick, private ceremony back home to make her the official Mrs. Harding. That was when the real nightmare began. Without Eve to handle the household logistics, manage Cece's demanding health routines, prepare daily meals, and quietly organize Jordan's schedule, the Harding household descended into total chaos. Molly was not Eve. Molly was an unemployed, spoiled woman who had spent 8 years living off various men. The moment she officially moved into the Harding manor, she demanded a $5 million allowance, hired 3 private maids, and refused to cook a single meal or clean a single dish. When Cece sent her to the kitchen to prepare tea, just as she used to do with Eve, Molly had smashed a $2,000 antique teapot on the floor and screamed, I'm the young mistress of this family, not your domestic maid. If you want tea, hire a servant. Cece had nearly suffered a stroke on the spot. Furthermore, Molly's extravagant spending habits rapidly drained Jordan's personal liquidity. She bought 3 luxury sports cars in 2 months, hosted wild parties with her former Slandsdeca friends, and frequently argued with Jordan in public over money. When Jordan tried to discipline her, Molly would simply throw her diamond wedding band at his face and sneer. Don't play the saint with me, Jordan. You cheated on your fiancé of 7 years to marry me. You think I don't know what kind of man you are? Jordan's life had become an unlivable hell. He worked 14 hours a day trying to save his dying company, only to come home to a chaotic house filled with shouting, unpaid bills, and a mother weeping. In the corner, Eve quietly closed the phone, handing it back to Kendra. Karma moves at its own pace, Eve said softly, her voice completely unbothered. Anyway, the contractor for our new showroom just called. They're ready for the final inspection. She stood up, grabbed her coat, and walked toward the door, radiant, independent, and completely free. 18 months after the cancelled wedding, The annual International Design Summit was being hosted at the Fairmont Empress Hotel in Vancouver. The grand ballroom was illuminated by thousands of crystal lights, filled with world-class architects, global investors, and high society patrons. Eve stood near the central glass installation, wearing a floor-length, midnight blue silk gown. Her hair was styled in soft waves, a simple diamond pendant resting against her collarbone. She was the guest of honor tonight, having won the prestigious Pacific Excellence in Architecture Award for her firm's Sustainable Community Center design. Miss Eve, an international investor, bowed slightly, raising his champagne glass. Your firm's growth over the past year has been miraculous. We are honored to co-fund your upcoming European expansion. Thank you, Mr. Vance. Eve smiled warmly, her tone confident, clear, and elegant. We look forward to a successful partnership. As the investor walked toward the bar, Eve turned to take a fresh glass of sparkling water from a passing waiter. Her eyes drifted toward the main entrance of the ballroom. Standing near the coat check, looking frayed, thin, and entirely out of place, was Jordan Harding. He wore a dark gray tuxedo, but the fabric was slightly worn at the cuffs. His cheeks were hollowed, his eyes surrounded by dark purple circles, his hair streaked with premature silver at the temples. He was attending the summit as a low-level regional vendor, desperately seeking international subcontracts to keep his struggling firm afloat. Beside him stood Molly. She wore an overly flashy, red sequin gown that looked entirely out of place for an architectural summit. She was loudly arguing with a hotel attendant about her invitation status. What do you mean my pass is restricted? Molly's voice carried over the soft violin music. My husband is the CEO of the Harding Group. Let us into the VIP lounge. Ma'am, your ticket is for the secondary vendor hall, the attendant replied coldly. Only award winners and primary sponsors are permitted in the VIP lounge. Jordan looked exhausted, his head bowed, his hands clenching into fists inside his pockets. Molly, please stop making a scene. People are looking. You're the one who's useless. Molly snapped, shoving his arm violently. If you had won an award like those other executives, we wouldn't be standing here like beggars. Jordan turned his head, his eyes scanning the grand room in sheer, soul-crushing humiliation. And then, his gaze landed on the center of the VIP terrace. He froze. Standing under the central chandelier, surrounded by international billionaires, politicians, and famous artists, was Eve. She looked breathtaking. She looked like a queen ruling over her domain. Her eyes were bright, her posture immaculate, her laughter light and melodic as she chatted with a famous European director. Jordan's breath caught in his throat. The glass of wine in his hand trembled so violently that red liquid splashed over his knuckles. Eve, he whispered, his voice cracking into a broken rasp. It was the first time he had seen her in nearly 2 years. In his memory, she was the quiet, patient girl who sat on his living room floor, washing his dishes, wearing clearance clothes, waiting for him to come home from his business trips, accepting every flimsy excuse he threw at her. Now, looking at the radiant, magnificent woman standing 30 feet away, he realized the ultimate, terrifying truth. He hadn't been the master of her life. She had simply been giving him her grace. And the moment he trampled on that grace, she had walked away, taking all the light, fortune, and peace in his world with her. Jordan? What are you staring at? Molly hissed, grabbing his lapel. Jordan didn't answer her. He pulled his arm out of her grip with such force that Molly stumbled back against a marble pillar. He walked, then ran toward the VIP terrace. Sir, you cannot enter the VIP area without a badge. 2 heavy security guards stepped forward to block him. Eve. Jordan screamed, his voice raw, ragged, and desperate, shattering the quiet elegance of the room. Eve. The music didn't stop, but several international guests turned their heads in confusion. Eve stopped talking to her investor. She turned her head slowly, her midnight blue silk dress swishing gracefully, and looked down from the elevated terrace toward the security line. Her gaze met Jordan's. Her dark eyes were completely calm. There was no hatred in them. No anger, no bitterness, no lingering hurt. She looked at him as if he were a piece of stray lint floating across an airport floor. Eve, please, Jordan choked out, tears bursting from his hollow eyes running down his pale cheeks. He dropped to his knees right there in front of the security guards, his hands reaching through the velvet ropes toward her. Talk to me. Just 5 minutes. I'm begging you. Jordan, what the hell are you doing? Molly shrieked, running over her face, contorted in rage and embarrassment as she tried to pull him up. Get up. You're embarrassing me. Get away from me, you parasite. Jordan screamed, shoving Molly onto the marble floor with wild, lunatic strength. Molly let out a sharp cry as her sequin dress ripped against the marble, her red heels flying off. Jordan crawled forward on his hands and knees, pressing his head against the velvet barrier, weeping hysterically like a condemned man. Eve. I was wrong, he sobbed, his voice echoing across the grand hall. She's a nightmare. My mother is sick. My company is dying. I don't love her. I never loved her. It was just an old promise, a stupid childhood mistake. He raised his tear-stained face, staring up at her with an agonizing, pathetic plea. Come home, Eve. I'll divorce her tomorrow. I'll give you everything. I'll spend the rest of my life making it up to you. Please, look at me. The entire international audience looked at the weeping man on the floor, then at the radiant woman standing on the terrace, whispering in hushed, contemptuous tones. Eve stood at the top of the marble stairs. She looked down at Jordan kneeling in his worn tuxedo, weeping into the carpet, and then at Molly scrambling on the floor in her ripped red dress. She remembered the 7 years she had spent washing 78 sets of dishes in Cecé's kitchen. She remembered the 320-slide PowerPoint presentations Jordan had created to pick Molly's wedding veil. She remembered the scent of peony perfume on his shirt collar. A faint, serene smile touched Eve's lips. She didn't speak to him. She didn't offer a single word of closure. She turned her back on the velvet barrier, rested her hand gently on the arm of her international investment partner, and walked away into the private executive lounge, her steps light, sharp, and unbreakable. Eve. No. Evie. Jordan's shrieks tore through the ballroom as security guards hoisted him up by his arms, dragging him and the screaming Molly out through the rear service doors of the hotel into the freezing Canadian rain. 6 months later, the High Court divorce proceedings between Jordan Harding and Molly Powell concluded in a messy, public battle. Molly, realizing Jordan was officially bankrupt, attempted to sue for half of the remaining Harding family assets. However, Cece produced the original Slandsdeca wedding receipts, proving that Molly had entered the marriage through fraudulent misrepresentation of her own financial debts. Molly was stripped of her allowance, evicted from the Harding manor, and forced to return to Slandsdeca with a massive personal debt. Cece suffered a severe stroke due to the stress, leaving her bedridden in a public nursing facility, constantly weeping for Eve, asking the nurses why her dutiful daughter-in-law had stopped coming to wash the dishes. As for Jordan Harding, his company went into court-ordered liquidation. He sold his luxury car, his apartment, and his bespoke suits, moving into a small, dark single-room rental near the industrial docks. He spent his days working as a low-level draftsman, earning minimum wage. Every evening, he would sit on his narrow metal bed, pulling out a dusty, white-ribboned wedding favor box, the chocolate box he had brought back from Slandsdeca 2 years ago. The chocolates inside had long turned stale and white with mold. He would open the box, stare at the bitter pieces, and weep in total darkness, until the sun came up, remembering the woman who had loved him for 7 years, whom he had traded for a handful of ash. Meanwhile, in Seattle, the sun broke over Puget Sound, painting the ocean in brilliant strokes of gold and azure. Eve stood on the balcony of her new penthouse, holding a fresh cup of coffee, watching the ships glide across the water. Kendra walked out, leaning against the railing with a smile. What are you thinking about, CEO Eve? Eve took a deep, delicious breath of the clean ocean air, a brilliant, radiant smile breaking across her face. I'm thinking, Eve said softly, looking out at the endless, beautiful horizon, that 7 years was just a lesson. And the rest of my life is mine.